Hi, this is the Voice of Heidie Calero with another economic capsule on the fascinating world of the Puerto Rico economy. To those of you, this capsule is being recorded for Thanksgiving, so I wish all of you a very happy Thanksgiving together with your family members in small numbers. Remember, we still have COVID-19, the pandemic, and it is still with us until next year when we hope that vaccines will be available and things may start getting back to normal. So today, for those of you, I remind you that if you want to receive notifications on new economic analysis, don't forget to subscribe to the Voice of Heidie Calero in YouTube. Today we are going to refresh our review what has been happening with 6 quarterly economic indicators of my firm, H. Calero Consulting Group, Inc. And they will cover what you are seeing in this graph, a coincident index, a construction index, a consumer index, a manufacturing index, a banking index, and a leading index that tells you, well, what is in store for the next 3 to 4 months. And these are the quarterly indices for the third quarter of 2020 compared to the third quarter of 2019. So it's on an annual basis that we are making this comparison. The coincident, which gives you a snapshot of where the economy is, still in negative territory with negative 6.6%. Construction has been recovering compared to the third quarter of 2019, 7.9%. No doubt this has been instigated by maybe some of the federal recovery funds from Hurricane Maria and even from the earthquake that we've had from January of 2020. So construction cement sales moving along, so that's where you see this recovery in the construction index. Consumer more or less flat, 0.6%. No doubt this is the slowdown from the federal package that ended back in July 31st for those benefits on unemployment, which are no longer available until Congress decides with a new federal package, and we still haven't seen. There's a stalemate corresponding to that package, so consumers more or less on a cautious mode. Maybe this might change once Christmas on the fourth quarter is with us. The manufacturing index is still in negative territory, even though the PMI, which is usually the index that tells you if we are on a recovery mode, is on the positive above 50, but still compared to Q3 of 2019, it's in negative territory. And banking is in positive territory. Banks here are full of deposits, but banks do not make money on deposits. Only when they either loan or they invest do they make money. So for the banking, it's the challenge of how to find those feasible projects that they can easily lend or that will really move this Puerto Rico economy. That hasn't happened yet. And then the leading index, which already tells you the story that the next 3 to 4 months, even the next quarter, might still be negative compared to the previous year. Let's then take the performance of this third quarter of 2020 and compare it with the third quarter of 2006. That's the year before the depression of 2007 started in Puerto Rico, and compare it to see how we are staging against those numbers. And it's on average a 70% of that performance of 2006, the third quarter. So that means that the economy of Puerto Rico has shrunk 30%. That's a massive number that Puerto Rico needs to really be creative, how to be very intelligent in how we are going to move forward in strategic terms as to which sectors are going to be moving so that the economy of Puerto Rico grows and comes out of this terrible economic depression, and now adding insult to injury with the pandemic of COVID-19. So in the coincident index, we are 72% of what we were in Q3 2006. In construction, we are way below with 33%. Only consumer is a little bit slightly higher than it was in Q3 2006, and that's because the consumer has been going through Hurricane Maria, need to replace a lot of either appliances, need to replace roofs and other repairs that have to be done. And so you've seen now with the pandemic, you've seen more sales in terms of online that have been happening. So the consumer still more or less a bit resilient, but nothing to brag about in terms of recovering for the Puerto Rico economy. Manufacturing 75% of what we were in 2006. Banking also, even though they have a lot of deposits and they have been making money, they are 78% of what they were in 2006. And the leading index is barely stagnant, almost 99%. So great challenge, a Puerto Rico economy that has shrunk and needs to grow if we are going to pay the biggest challenge that we face, not only with COVID-19, but with the restructuring of the public debt. And that is part of the charter of the PROMESA supervisory board, which now has new members and which are really looking at being a hard pressure on making more generous terms to restructure this debt favoring bondholders. So it's another challenge that we are facing, and the PROMESA board has not been doing too well if we are going to be evaluating its performance. We have spent more than $4.5 billion in lawyers and consultants, plus $240 million in a budget of the board that it's full of secrecy. We don't know what they have been using the money, but the results have been massive, expensive, but not enough restructuring of the debt, not enough in terms of economic growth, not enough in terms of infrastructure, and certainly not enough in terms of policy and reforms. Well, let's look at the future. This leading index is still in negative territory. As you see here, this depicts the graph. We were sort of becoming increasing, and this is part of what happened after 2008, the financial crisis. Puerto Rico receiving a great package from President Obama, and then we are starting to see the decline. Then we were hit by the hurricane, and then we are seeing more or less it's been on a decline, maybe less negative, but still negative. So the future is bowed with lots of challenges for the Puerto Rico economy. So for the governor-elect and the legislature-elect, it's a terrible times that we are facing with the COVID, and certainly we need to work with in unison with the PROMESA board as to how to take Puerto Rico out of bankruptcy, and the only way out is through economic growth. Until the next capsule, have a nice Thanksgiving.